Poachers used a drone to hunt him. Watch what this ranger did next. He lay flat on his belly in the tall, dry grass of the savanna, the captured drone's controller clutched in his hands. On the tablet screen, he watched the live feed. It showed 3 heavily armed men, their faces grim, frantically searching the bush below. They were hunting him. They were a team of professional poachers, modern-day pirates of the land, who had come to his national park to kill the last of its rhinos. They were the predators. But they had made one fatal mistake. They had flown their military-grade drone into his territory, and now their own technology was his weapon. The hunters had just become the hunted. But before we start our story, make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, and hit that notifications bell so that you won't miss any of our news stories. To understand the high-stakes battle that was about to unfold, you must first understand the brutal, modern war being waged in the wild heart of Africa. This is the war against poaching. In the 21st century, poaching is not a matter of a few poor villagers hunting for food. It has evolved into a multi-billion-dollar transnational criminal enterprise run by the same sophisticated international syndicates that traffic in drugs, weapons, and human lives. Their target? The rhino, or more specifically, its horn. Driven by a baseless and scientifically debunked belief in its medicinal properties in parts of Asia, rhino horn has become one of the most valuable commodities on the planet. It is worth more than gold or cocaine. This immense value has fueled a brutal and militarized assault on the world's last remaining rhino populations. The new poachers are not simple hunters. They are often ex-soldiers, armed with military-grade assault rifles, night vision goggles, and satellite phones. They operate with ruthless efficiency, sometimes using helicopters to track and kill the animals, hacking off the horn with a chainsaw and leaving the magnificent creature to bleed to death on the savanna. Fighting this war on the front lines is a new breed of soldier, the anti-poaching ranger. These are dedicated and often underfunded men and women who put their lives on the line every single day to protect these endangered animals. They are locked in a constant deadly arms race with the poaching syndicates. It is a war fought in the shadows, deep in the vast and unforgiving wilderness. Our story's protagonist is a man we'll call David, a veteran senior ranger in a large national park in Kenya. He had spent 20 years of his life in this park. He knew its every river, its every valley, and the secret paths that the animals used. He was a master tracker, a man who could read the land like a book. The year is 2023. A new and disturbing trend had begun to emerge. The poaching syndicates were now using a new weapon: advanced commercial drones. These drones, equipped with high-resolution thermal cameras, had become their eyes in the sky. They could fly silent, grid-like patterns over the vast park, day or night, mapping out the precise location of the rhinos and their patrol routes, allowing the poachers to strike with deadly surgical precision. One afternoon, David was on a solo, multi-day patrol in the most remote sector of his park. He was tracking a specific female black rhino and her young calf, 2 of the last 30 of their kind left in the entire reserve. As he watched the animals from a safe distance through his binoculars, he heard it, a faint, high-pitched, electric hum that didn't belong in the natural world. He looked up, and he saw it, a sleek quadcopter drone flying a perfect, pre-programmed grid pattern high above the rhinos. His blood ran cold. This was not a tourist drone. It was too advanced, its flight path too methodical. He knew instantly what it was. It was a poacher's reconnaissance drone, and that meant the poachers themselves were close, likely monitoring the feed from a hidden camp nearby, waiting for the right moment to move in for the kill. David was alone, dozens of miles from his nearest ranger station, and armed with only a simple bolt-action rifle. He was outmanned and outgunned. Calling for helicopter backup would take too long and would alert the poachers. He knew in that moment that his only chance to save the rhinos was to take out the poacher's eyes in the sky. He had to take down that drone. He knew the drone was programmed to follow the rhinos. Therefore, to trap the drone, he first had to predict where the rhinos were going. He knew this specific rhino and her calf. He knew their habits, and he knew that at dusk she almost always led her calf to a specific, narrow, rock-walled ravine that held a small, reliable water source. The drone, in order to keep a lock on its targets, would have to fly low and directly through this narrow passage. That was his chance. That was where he would set his trap. He had to get there before the rhinos did. He took off at a run, his boots pounding against the hard, dry earth, his lungs burning in the hot African air. He pulled a large, heavy camouflage net from his pack, a piece of equipment normally used to create a temporary blind, creating a nearly invisible aerial net. All he could do now was wait. Minutes later, he saw them. The female rhino and her calf walked slowly and cautiously into the ravine, and just as he had predicted, trailing silently behind them, about 50 feet in the air, was the drone. It was flying low to maintain its thermal lock. As the drone's carbon fiber propellers tangled in the heavy mesh, the drone flipped, its motors screaming as it fought against the snare. The trap had worked. David moved from his hiding place, his movements swift and silent. He reached the crashed drone, its lights flickering erratically. With a practiced motion, ejected the drone's micro SD card, the small, black chip that held all the evidence. Now came the hard part. He knew the poachers, watching their monitor go black, would know the drone's last known GPS coordinates. They would be coming here to recover their expensive machine, and they would be coming angry. This is where the story shifts from a clever trap to a desperate hunt. David, alone in the vast savanna, was now the prey. But David was not an ordinary man. He was a master of this environment. He knew that to survive, he couldn't just run. He had to think. He had to turn the hunter's expectations against them. He quickly created a false trail, scuffing his boots in the dirt, leading away from the ravine in the opposite direction of his ranger station. He found a secure hiding spot in a rocky outcrop with a clear view of the crash site and waited. Hours later, he saw them, 3 men, dressed in camouflage and carrying assault rifles, moving with a disciplined, military-like formation. They swept the area, found their crashed drone, and immediately noticed the missing memory card. Their body language shifted from recovery to a manhunt. David watched as they found his false trail and began to follow it, disappearing into the bush in the wrong direction. He had bought himself time, precious time. Under the cover of darkness, David made his way back to a pre-designated emergency cache, miles from the crash site. There, he had a small, ruggedized tablet. He inserted the poacher's memory card. What he saw made his blood run cold, but also filled him with a grim sense of victory. The footage was even more incriminating than he had imagined. It didn't just show the rhinos. There were hours of high-resolution video showing the poachers' faces, stable footage of their hidden base camp and their vehicle, a customized Land Cruiser with a clear license plate. He now knew exactly who they were, and he knew exactly where they were hiding. The poachers had used their drone to hunt the rhinos. Now, David would use it to hunt them. Using his encrypted satellite phone, he transmitted the crucial images and the GPS coordinates of the poachers' camp directly to the headquarters of the park's Rapid Response Anti-Poaching Unit. The raid was launched at dawn. 2 helicopters, flying low and fast under the rising sun, descended on the poachers' hidden camp. The team of elite, heavily armed rangers stormed the camp, the operation a whirlwind of speed and surprise. The poachers, caught completely off guard, surrendered without a fight. When the rangers searched their vehicle, they found not only their weapons, but a hidden compartment containing several freshly harvested rhino horns, a heartbreaking sign that this was not their first kill. The footage from their own drone became the primary and irrefutable evidence used to convict them. The investigation that followed, based on the data from the drone, led to the dismantling of a major international poaching syndicate. The rhinos were safe. David, the quiet, veteran ranger, was hailed as a hero. His intimate knowledge of the land, combined with his courage and his ability to think under pressure, had allowed him to single-handedly defeat a modern, high-tech poaching team. The story of the captured drone is a powerful testament to the changing nature of the war to protect our planet's most endangered species. It is a high-tech war of intelligence and counterintelligence, a battle fought with satellites and drones as much as it is with boots on the ground. And it is the story of how one man, a silent guardian of the wilderness, used his deep, ancient knowledge of the natural world to turn a machine of destruction into an instrument of justice.